Wow, wow, wow. Classroom of the Elite episode 6. And what an episode 6, to be honest. I mean, this episode had a lot of twists. I mean, this is probably the episode with the most twists, if we're being honest. And so much to talk about that I'm probably going to forget a lot of things. But man, that ending was epic. And I have a lot of things to say about that ending too because I didn't actually see that coming. So yeah, that caught me by surprise and a surprise in a good way because it had me almost jumping out of my seat or my bed, I should say. So yeah, let me just start the episode review by saying that well, we finally get to the finale of the event they're having, the sport event. And of course, as it was the case and as it was explained in the last episode, well, Class D actually lost. They didn't win the event. But I guess it was said by Hirata, I think, or someone else that nobody actually lost points. It was all reset. So I guess there is that too. But yeah, I mean, it was expected that they were not going to win that event. And we get a little bit of interaction between all of the main protagonists of Class D in this episode too, so that is something good that the episode gave us because we got things from from Ayanokouji, from Horikita, from Kushida, from Karisawa, from Hirata, from Tsudo. So yeah, I mean, everybody got participation in this episode, so yeah, that is actually a good thing. And well, the episode, how could I describe this episode? Because I mean, a lot of things happen in this episode that is actually really hard to describe the episode in a couple of words, but I guess I would say that the episode could be described once again the demonstration of how smart, cunning, and manipulative Ayanokouji can be, because that is basically what happened in this episode. I mean, everything that happened until this point has been Ayanokouji's plan. Even I had doubts in the last episode that Ayanokouji could actually plan this far, because in the last episode I was actually, speculating if Ayanokouji actually knew the situation that Susune was in, that Horikita was in. And yeah, I was doubting myself because, I didn't know if he knew the full extent of everything that was unfolding behind his back. But I mean, this episode proved me wrong, really wrong, because not only did he knew everything, he actually made the things that were happening behind his back be that way. So yeah, I mean, he had everything planned from the beginning. He knew the traitor, he knew how the traitor would act, he had the recording of the traitor, he knew that Kushida was going to talk with Ryuuen. He even had a traitor in Class C, which is something really interesting. I mean, I didn't actually even expect it or had any idea that Ayanokouji actually had someone that was feeding him information from Class C. So I mean, I thought, to be honest, only Class D had a traitor, but I mean, Ayanokouji is simply too smart. He even had a person from Class C basically checking out what Ryuuen was doing all the time and even recording him, as we saw in these 6 episodes. So I mean, I'm surprised, to be honest. I know Ayanokouji is a really smart person and probably one of the smartest person in anime of all time, but I mean, he went this far, and to be honest, I can already see that this is just only part of his full potential, you can call it like that. So I'm surprised by the feat he did in this episode, but I'm probably going to be even more surprised by future things that he will do in future episodes and seasons. So yeah, I mean, that happened in this episode. And like in the last episode, Ayanokouji told Horikita to convince Sudo to come back and and compete in the event, even though Ayanokouji knew that that wasn't actually going to help and they were actually going to lose still. So but he still did that because he wanted for Class D to be united, to be as a one group, as one strong class, because in future episodes that will help, of course, in future events, competitions, etc. It was not so much to win the event, but to bring the class together. So yeah, Horikita did that. I don't know if it was part of Ayanokouji's plan. Probably is. I mean, everything at this point is probably part of Ayanokouji's plan. Actually also helped Horikita too, because Ayanokouji in the last episode told Horikita to help Suro by doing anything possible to bring him back. So what Horikita did was basically give him a deep talk about herself, about who she was, and and what she was facing, what are her problems, and that basically made Sudo, well, think twice about what he was doing and went back to the event. But at the same time, like I said already, that helped Horikita too, because saying it out loud may actually have clear her mind a little bit more and make her be more aware of the situation she's in, because she confessed almost at the end of the episode and even thanked Ayanokouji that thing he told her actually helped her, because in the last episode Ayanokouji actually gave her the talk, a real down to the earth talk, even giving her some tips to be better, to stop blaming herself, to stop failing, and that made her be a better person. And at the same time gave that talk she gave to Sudon. So I mean, that is actually something that happened in the episode, probably, like I said already, was planned by Ayanokouji to probably manipulate her more. So yeah, there is that too. But one of the main things we see in this episode, aside from Ayanokouji's master plan, is also seeing Kuchida's twisted personality. I mean, we already knew from the first season that she had a twisted personality, and in this season that she was the traitor. But I mean, in this episode it was on full display. We actually got to see her in her real personality more. I think this is the episode that has given us the most extent of her true personality, more airtime of her true personality. So yeah, we got to see that, and like everybody that watches this anime probably expected her to to be that twisted and that bad of a person. And we even see her again trying to manipulate, not so much manipulate, but to talk down on Ayanokouji, that she was going to make him drop out of the school too, because that is her plan, to make Horikita drop out of school. But I don't think that is actually going to happen, because one, Horikita already knows. So of course, now that she knows that Kushida is trying to get her out to drop from the school, I don't think that will work. But secondly, there's Ayanokouji too, and of course Ayanokouji will not let Kushida drop out Horikita. That will not happen. I mean, unless somehow Ayanokouji will benefit by this. I don't know how, but if it did, of course Ayanokouji will do anything to make Horikita drop out. But yeah, that is not going to happen. So yeah, Kuchida's plan of making Horikita drop is insane, to be honest, and even more insane to try to make that same strategy or plan to apply it to Ayanokouji too. I mean, that is definitely not going to work, 100% not going to work. So I don't know what she's thinking with that. Yeah, like we didn't know what her actual plan was or her mentality was for acting that way until this episode. We didn't actually know why she had that twisted personality, because I mean, everybody knew that she was a twisted person, but why was she that way? And apparently it was explained by herself that she doesn't want anybody from her past to know about her true personality. She basically wants to get rid of everybody that actually knows who she truly is. So Horikita, of course Ayanokouji, even Ryuuen. So yeah, I mean, that is not going to work. The more enemies you make, the more probable you will fail. So, and yeah, that is her reason to get rid of Horikita, because they knew each other. I think it was in middle school, high school, something like that. But of course, at the end of the episode, she got what she deserved. She was surprised, at the brink of crying and shocked and afraid, because she found out that she was played. I mean, she found out, even Ryuuen found out that she was being played, that they thought all this time, oh, look, we are really strong, we are really manipulative, we are doing all this sort of plan behind everybody's back, and we are using people, and we are using Horikita, and we are decimating Class D, but not knowing that, well, they were basically being used, not basically, they were actually being used by supposedly Ayanokouji, because who else is that person that is actually pulling all the strings behind their backs? It was Ayanokouji, of course. So yeah, I mean, Ryuuen was surprised but laughing at the same time, and Kushida was devastated, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, even Horikita was shocked. I mean, she already knows how scary, I think that's the word to describe Ayanokouji can be, but I mean, even in this episode, she was even more surprised of how cunning Ayanokouji could be. So yeah, everybody was surprised. Even when they were running, Horikita's brother and Ayanokouji, even then, he didn't show his actually, I don't know if you can call it true powers, but his true abilities. When running, he could have probably beaten, Horikita's brothers. It is kind of interesting that he actually demonstrated demonstrated a little bit of his actual abilities, not only with the run, but with the whole planning behind everybody's back. So I wonder how Horikita will actually take this. Will she be more in the fence, in the edge with Ayanokouji, or will she start interrogating him more? Because she should probably already know that all this time she was being manipulated, because Horikita didn't know that Ayanokouji knew all this time that she was being used by Ryuuen, or that she was about to be used by Ryuuen. And now that she knows that Ayanokouji knew all this time and that was actually his plan all along, so I don't know how she will react with that. Mad, strange, scared, curious. That is actually a good way for Ayanokouji to have classy, a little bit more, behave a little bit more on the fence, on the edge, because until this moment they have been acting out. They have been causing classy a lot of trouble. So yeah, this is actually a good plan from Ayanokouji's part, because now he actually has a way to manipulate and to control classy. I don't know if control is the full extent that is his plan, but at least keep them on the fence, keep them on edge. So yeah, that is actually good from his part. And yeah, let's see where the next episode takes us, because this episode ended dramatically, and now this mini arc, this competition arc actually ended. So what will the next episode give us? What is going to happen? I'm actually really curious about that. And I always like when episodes end like that, when episodes end without us knowing what will actually happen in the next episode, because we go to the next episode speculating, making ideas and all sort of theories in our minds, and that is how this episode ended too. So yeah, that is actually a good thing in my opinion. So yeah, that is what happened in this episode. A lot of things happened in this episode, so many twists, so many revelations, so many things happen in this episode that there is simply too much to talk about. Like I said already at the beginning of the review, if I were to explain this episode in one word, it would be, or not one word, but a couple of words, it would be the full extent, or not full extent, but a further demonstration of how terrifying and how cunning Ayanokouji can be. So yeah, that is what I will call the main theme or topic in this episode, behind, the second theme or topic being Kushida's twisted personality. So yeah, I guess in a way you can call Ayanokouji twisted too, so, but they are twisted in different ways. One is twisted for the sake of being twisted. I don't know if you can call it like that. And Ayanokouji is twisted because he actually has a plan in mind and not just playing things out randomly. So yeah, but yeah, that is my episode review of this episode, and I guess I'll see you on the next episode review.